Bordo u Francuskoj je destinacija o kojoj sanja svaki ljubitelj vina, ali kada ta vina stignu iz Bordoa u Beograd, to je posebna degustaciona poslastica. U organizaciji vinoteke Beogradu, Crown Plazi, su predstavljena vina iz najpoznatije vinske regije na svetu iz berbe 2022. koja je ove sezone izašla na tržište. Po mnogo čemu jedinstvena degustacija okupila je predstavnike 12 vinarija iz Bordoa i više od 200 vina iz brojnih šatoa ove oblasti.
Ovakva vrsta eventa nigde u ovom delu Evrope nije napravljena. Ovakve slični eventi se dešavaju, prave se redovno u Americi, u Engleskoj, u Švajcarskoj, u nekim zemljama koje već duži niz godina imaju neku tradiciju pravljanja toga. Ovo je prvi put da smo mi iskočili i da smo otišli u tom nekom smeru edukacije i konzumacije tih nekih premium vina, gde smo dobili zajedničku podršku od toga, zato što smo odradili. Naše tržište je dosta lepo i dosta se razvija i dosta prihvata taj kvalitet i onda smo samim tim i doneli odluku da napravimo ovako nešto.
Da, ništa čudno što je izabran Bordo i bordoška vina, naravno. Koliko je danas ovde bordoških vinarija?
Imamo na degustaciji preko 200 vina, preko 200 različitih etiketa na degustaciji, a u goste nam je došlo 12 vinarija, samih vinarija, što vlasnici, što generalni menadžeri u posetu i oni su na velika podrška ovde i u komunikaciji sa svim ljudima i tako dalje.
Kako će se dalje razvijati ova saradnja?
Nadamo se da ćemo ovo postaviti ovako vid tradicije da u poslednje nedelja marta ili prva nedelja aprila bude stalno vreme kada ćemo plasirati i lansirati novu berbu Bordoa, zato što tada počinje u stvari i prodaja te nove berbe. Znači, i to je, da kažemo, jedna vrsta amprimer, ali prodaja vina, tako da nadamo se da ćemo ostati u priči da to stalno radimo svake godine.
Kako su njihove impresije, s obzirom da su bili gosti i probali su i neka naša vina?
Većina njih je prvi put u Srbiji. Ja sam se potrudio da budem dobar domaćin i probali su, da kažemo, dosta naših domaćih vina i dosta su zadovoljni, da ne kažem prezadovoljni. Naša vina su dosta dobrog kvaliteta, mi napredujemo, svake godine sve smo bolji i bolji. Hvala nam još malo vremena da neki jedan deo vina crvenih sazre još malo vinograda, da dobijemo i neka velika vina, da i mi možemo da uđemo u igru sa tim velikim vinarijama.
Jedna od predstavnika Bordoa na velikoj degustaciji bila je i vinarija ili Chateau Pape Clement, koja ima dugu tradiciju u proizvodnji vina, a i izuzetno zanimljivu priču o svom nastanku. Ovo je i prvi susret njihovog predstavnika sa našim glavnim gradom.
I'm very surprised by the city. I know my first time here in your country and people are very friendly. And
like wine.
Like wine. I tasted local wine. I'm very surprised by the quality too. I love this. I love the general quality of your wines. And it's honestly, I would like to come back. I want to come very often to push my wines in your country.
Bordo je oblast u kojoj vinogradi i vino caruju vekovima u takozvanim šatoima. To je francuski naziv za dvorac ili imanje gde se proizvodi vino, a regija je podeljena na nekoliko oblasti ili apelacija, od koji su najpoznatije Pomerol, Margo, Saint-Emilion i tako dalje. Ne samo kvalitet vina, već i tradicija u proizvodnji je ono što bordoške vinarije čini unikatnim i cenjenim u celom svetu.
The specificity of Bordeaux, you have many chateaux, not big company, just chateau. But the chance we have, you have a lot of story. History, not story, history, you know. I give you an example, it's mine, one of my chateaux. I have the chance to have two chateaux today. The first one is La Tour-Carnet in Médoc appellation, or Médoc appellation. It's a classified wine, fourth group. You can imagine that the chateau it come from the 11th century. It was built in the 11th century. It's in Médoc. But the flagship of our company is the Chateau Pape Clement. Pape means Pope. It was owned by the Pope, Clement V, in 1305. The Pope was the name, the Pope in this time, the name of the man was Bertrand de Goth. It was a local name. And he was elected Pope in 1305. You know, the Pope in Catholic changed the name, and he changed the name is Pope Clement V. And he changed the name of the chateau. The chateau became the Chateau Pape Clement. We can say that our first vintage was 1305. And you have the chance to have all this story of the chateau in a local church in Bordo. It's crazy. And my great-grandfather bought the chateau in 1939. And it was exactly the same size during the Pope 13, the Clement V. It's crazy. It's a Grapes appellation. Grapes appellation is the center of Bordeaux. It's close in, we are the chance to be in the center of Bordeaux. You can come by bicycle from the airport. You can come by bicycle from the center of Bordeaux. We are very lucky. We have many people come to visit our chateau. And you know, the most important in wine is the story, the history. Everybody makes good wines everywhere in the world. But to make a reputation is very complicated. And the chance we have that you have this history. This story is the Pope Clement V. Yes. And you are very lucky.
Nije jednostavno preporučiti određeno vino jer ono ne sadrži same mirise, ukuse, tanine i ostale elemente, već će vas ponajviše privući svojom pričom koju ćete zatim prenositi dalje.
You can taste all the wine today. You can make your own ranking if you want. Okay, nice. But the most important is the story. Because when you are going to if you buy a bottle of wine for today, when you come back in your home and you organize a wine dinner with your friends, nobody comes to help you. You need to explain your choice. And the big problem that you don't, to explain the technique is complicated because nobody understands. To explain the grapes, nobody make the difference between Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot. Everybody asks, but nobody understands, okay? The most complicated is to have a story. You have to have a story easy to understand for your friends. For example, in my chateau, Chateau Pape Clement, you can say, I opened the Chateau Pape Clement because I have an interview with the owner. It's the beginning of the story. And because I know the owner. No, you know, I know the owner. Okay. And the second, it was owned by the Pope Clement V in 1305. It's enough because it's your reputation. It's not the wine. It's your reputation when you are in a restaurant, when you are in a home, when you open a bottle of wine. It's completely different than the rest, than the champagne, than the whiskey, than the water. Wine is so complicated. It's so complicated for everybody. It's like a dream. But I want to taste you. If you know the dream, if you understand, you need, and I need to collect the same dream. And I became a new ambassador of this wine because of the story.
Na velikoj degustaciji vina iz Bordoa u Crown Plazi predstavnik Chateaua Phelan Segur bila je njihova direktorka Veronique Dos. Žena na čelu vinarije nije više retkost ni u Bordou, a strast sa kojom nam predstavlja vinariju i vina dovoljno govore o posvećenosti.
My name is Veronique Dos and I am the director for Chateau Phelan Segur in Saint-Estèphe. Saint-Estèphe, it's the very north of Bordeaux. It's on the left bank, what we call the Mondot. It's approximately 60 kilometers north of Bordeaux. Okay? So we are very close to the Atlantic Ocean and to the Gironde River, which is very important for us. The specificity of Saint-Estèphe is that we have these big gravels, the stones coming from the Pyrenees, that is perfect for Cabernet Sauvignon, but we have a lot of clay, and that allows us to grow this beautiful Merlot. Clay, is a cooler soil, so Merlot love that. Okay, so we have both worlds, and we make very delicious wines. One of the specificity of Saint-Estèphe is to make very big, powerful, structured wine. Okay, and what I like at Phelan Segur is that we are able to produce these big, structured wines, with a lot of freshness and a lot of balance and fruitiness and purity.
Strast prema vinu kroz generacije formirala je i filozofiju vinarije koja spaja darove prirode i talente čoveka.
The history of Phelan Segur is based on the history of Bordeaux. We are Irish by origin. It's an Irishman, Bernard Phelan, who actually moved to Bordeaux in the beginning of the 19th century. Now, we become French, and now we are a family-owned property. It's 70 hectares, and it has a lot of passion, Phelan. And for example, we have our own chef at the chateau. So, if you want to come and visit Bordeaux, you may come to the chateau, and we will host you and welcome you, and then you can stay with us for a very beautiful lunch. The chateau is overlooking this beautiful river, the Gironde. There is a big park surrounded by all the vineyards, and it's just
Jedinstveni univerzum, pravi dar prirode. Na ovaj način opisuju se valoviti predeli Saint-Emiliona u Bordeauxu na kojima se nalazi i prestižna vinarija ili Chateau, Troplpng Mondot. Troplpng je zajedno sa drugim vinarijama iz ove regije stigao na jedinstvenu degustaciju vina u naš glavni grad, koji je organizovala vinoteka Beograd, distributer čuvenih bordoških kupaža. Naš sagovornik je rečima, a mi fotografijama i snimcima, pokušao da nam dočara njihov način života i filozofiju sa kojom stvaraju vina već vekovima.
Saint-Emilion, it's a wonderful village. It's a beautiful place, maybe one of the most beautiful villages of France and one of the most famous wine region in the world. It's a place where we can say that the Merlot is the king. This is the kingdom for Merlot in the world. It's a beautiful place with a lot of beautiful chateaus, some of the best famous chateaus of the world, with Cheval Blanc, with Troplpng, with Figeac, with Canot. And what I love in Saint-Emilion is also it's a very famous gastronomic place. There is many beautiful restaurants, Michelin star restaurants inside the village.
Saint-Emilion je i najveća vinogradarska oblast u Bordeaux sa oko 5000 hektara zasađenih vinovom lozom. Grad i okolni vinogradi su 1999. godine uvršteni na UNESCO-vu svetsku baštinu, zahvaljujući romanskim crkvama, ruševinama koje se protežu duž strmih i uskih ulica i dugoj istoriji u proizvodnji vina.
Of course, it's tough to compare one chateau to another chateau because we are all very different from different kind of place, different kind of soil. You can have sometimes sand soils, sometimes you can have gravel and clay, sometimes you have limestone and clay. The most famous one is the limestone. Saint-Emilion is very famous for the limestone, where are some of the most famous chateaux of Saint-Emilion. And for example, Troplpng, we have also some clay, very deep clay, which brings something different to the wine. So the good point is we are not making the same wine as every other one. We are all very different. A lot of diversity. Every chateau is making the same wine, but we play with the element of the weather, of course. But we play with the element of the soil as well. So the signature of each chateau is its own terroir.
Svaka vinarija posjeduje određene specifičnosti po kojima će je, osim po vinu, posetioci zapamtiti. Sa pogledom na selo, Chateau Troplpng Mondot odiše mirnom atmosferom.
Chateau Troplpng is one of the oldest estates of Saint-Emilion. We are making wine for more than 300 years at the same place, on the same plots. It's quite magical. So we are just a little part of the history of the estate. And what is magic at Troplpng is the altitude of the estate. This is the highest estate of Saint-Emilion. We are at 110 meters high. This is very high for Bordeaux. So it means there is a big change of soil with the neighbors. So at the top of the hill we have a lot of clay, 20 meters deep of clay, with big piece of flint, silex in it, and the slopes are made of limestone. So if you can talk about Troplpng, we talk about the power of the clay and the freshness of the limestone. So it's a big blend of it. Power, but fresh, always. And the magic of it is we use, of course, Merlot. We are in the kingdom of Merlot, Merlot Kingdom. 85% of Merlot, and then you have Cabernet Sauvignon because of the clay, and a little bit of Cabernet Franc. Something which makes us different as well is we have a one Michelin star restaurant inside the estate. So after a good tasting, you go for a good lunch because you are very hungry, and then you drink too much. So you go for a nap in our hotel rooms. It's very, very convenient. So feel free to come anytime you want.
Na degustaciji u Beogradu predstavljena je berba 2022. koja je u Bordeauxu bila izuzetna, a nekim vinarijama je donela i izuzetna priznanja.
We just had 100 points by Robert Parker, so it's one of the top wine of the vintage. So I will go for this wine. What I love in this vintage in Troplpng is how fresh is the wine, and at the same time you have this underneath power into the wine. So very aromatic but elegant. So we need a bit of elegance in this very brutal world. So drink Troplpng. It's a blend of Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, and a little bit of Cabernet Franc.
Spice.
To give some spice. And the Merlot will bring the freshness, the minerality, because it grows on the limestone. And the Cabernet Sauvignon will bring the power, the backbone to the wine, because it grows on the clay.
Chateau, Pavie, Macquin smatraju zvezdom Saint-Emiliona vinariju iz koje danas stižu vina najboljeg kvaliteta. Njihovi vinogradi se obrađuju sa puno pažnje na skoro organski način. Kao i sve bordoške vinarije i Chateau Pavie Macquin iza sebe ima bogatu istoriju, ne samo u proizvodnji vina, već i u borbi sa filokserom koja je pretila da ih potpuno uništi.
Chateau Pavie Macquin was built by Albert Macquin. So at the end of the 19th century, he was well known, pretty famous, because he helped to save the vineyard of Saint-Emilion from the phylloxera crisis. So these little bugs that destroy the vineyard at that time. Albert Macquin, he was an agronomical engineer, he was a scientist, so he already know how to graft the vine with a root resistant to phylloxera, an American root, and a local grape variety. And with these grafted plants, he sold them all around in Saint-Emilion, in Pomerol, on the left bank, and that really helped to save the vineyard of Saint-Emilion. So he's a very well-known character in the area.
Globalno zagrevanje nije mimoišlo ni Bordo. I mada vinari tvrde da ne osjećaju velike razlike, delimično su promenili sastav svojih kupaža.
In Pavie Macquin we have a lot of clays and we are on the limestone, so we have a lot of water available into the soil. So that really help us to handle the heat and the warmth during summers. So for now we don't really see the climate change. However, we now add more Cabernet Franc into the blend because they can ripe better now, and they also add some nice tenderness and freshness into the wine. So that's how we adapt to climate change.
Način na koji vinari opisuju vina pun je poetike jer ono inspiriše na posebna osjećanja, ali svim tim nijansama i finesama doprineo je vrhunski kvalitet teroara u Saint-Emilionu.
The first wine, Chateau Pavie Macquin, it's nice because it's a very ripe, concentrated wine with a lot of density, very floral nose. And in the same time, you have a lot of freshness, acidity, salinity, because we are on the limestone. So we are able, especially in warm year, to find the perfect balance between freshness and concentration and sunny profile into the wine. So I really recommend you to taste it. What is good now is that it's a wine that you can enjoy in the young years, but also you can keep it in the cellar for a long time. So you have the choice. You can enjoy it now or wait for 10 years or even more.
Iako je i svet bordoških vinarija uglavnom u rukama muškaraca, žene pronalaze svoje mesto u ovoj više nego atraktivnoj oblasti. Naša sagovornica je svoje mišljenje i iskustva iz Francuske podelila sa nama.
I work as communication manager for Chateau Pavie Macquin and other estates. And I think it's really important to have women in wine because they have maybe different ideas, different way to enjoy the wine, can bring new ideas, so it's very important.
Jedna od čuvenih vinarija iz Bordoa je Cos Estournel, koja se nalazi u oblasti, ili kako to Francuzi nazivaju, apelaciji pod nazivom Saint-Estef. Palatu krase veličanstvene pagode po ugledu na indijske rezidencije kojima je prvi vlasnik i osnivač vinarije bio oduševljen.
Cos d'Estournel began in 1791 with Louis Gaspard d'Estournel that will give his name to the chateau later by, and his mind and his soul is still be in the chateau because he was a pioneer, a guy that broke the law lots of times to try to go further into the winemaking and the sales of wine. And you can feel that today into Cos d'Estournel because Cos d'Estournel had always been pushing forward the limit into winemaking with the very first 100% gravity cellar in Bordeaux and in the style of the wine as well, so very silky.
Deo naziva vinarije znači šljunkovito brdo, što označava i specifičnost zemljišta na kojem raste vinova loza.
It's a hill, so you have a good drainage, you have poor soil, and you have fabulous grapes that enable us to produce amazing wines.
Zahvaljujući novom podrumu sa gravitacionim pumpama, favorizuju se karakteristike teroara u vinu, to jest zemljišta i klime. U veoma zamršenoj klasifikaciji koja postoji u Francuskoj, vina iz ove vinarije su visoko na lestvici kvaliteta, a berbu 2022. koja je bila tema velike degustacije u Beogradu, naš sagovornik je opisao kao neverovatnu.
We are presenting today the Chateau National 2022, one of the most amazing vintage in Bordeaux, and I think the future will tell us that is the right direction to take, because this is warm, but at the same time having a very good tension. And we were talking a little bit earlier on about Saint-Estèphe, what it is, and Saint-Estèphe is the most northern appellation of Bordeaux, so having the coolest climate indeed. And by being the closest to the ocean, we experience a very lovely location, which the global warming in some region is not helping. But in ours, this is very much helping, because every year we have a perfectly ripe and mature grapes, which enable us to achieve fabulous wines.
Na velikoj degustaciji vina iz Bordoa u Beogradu posetioci su imali priliku da probaju i vina iz Chateau Pavie, koji se nalazi na visoravni jugoistočno od sela Saint-Emilion. U 4. veku su zasađeni prvi vinogradi u ovom regionu, tačnije na obroncima današnjeg vinograda Chateaua. To je jedan od 4 zamka sa statusom Premier Grand Cru klase A, najvišom klasom na desnoj obali Bordoa i jedno je od najvećih imanja u Saint-Emilionu.
What makes Pavie quite unique in a sense and an iconic wines, which has been obviously very much put forward by the promotions of being the highest classifications in Saint-Emilion. So since 2012, we have obtained the Grand Cru Classé A, alongside obviously the Chateau Zone, Chateau Cheval Blanc, and Angelus and Figeac. What makes Pavie unique in a sense is we have a beautiful vineyards made of 37 hectares of vines, made over 3 types of terroirs, and we have the largest part of the iconic limestone plateau of Saint-Emilion. So our wines are predominantly made from the Merlot for at least 50%, but we have seen over the last 5 years an increase about the Cabernet Franc. Obviously, with the impact of global warming, the Cabernet Franc, it's a perfect answer, because not only it does provide a slightly more floral character, adding more lovely and subtle nuances on the wines.
U Francuskoj vino ima poseban status i deo je tradicije i kulture uparivanja sa hranom i svaki Francuz sa ponosom to ističe.
For me, wines, it's a passion that has been probably started when I was at a very young age, at maybe 16 years old. I know it sounds very young, however, this is very much the French traditions with the grandparents, taking you, introducing obviously to what is the beauty of wines. I was born and raised in the Rhone Valley, so the Rhone Valley has quite a special heart in my place, but obviously Bordeaux remains for me one of the most reliable, probably regions in the world, not only for the quality of wines, but for the diversity. You can obviously expand your pleasure from a very low starting point, obviously reaching to a slightly higher and premium price points, but always in your glass you got something which will speak to yourself. And as a Frenchman, I do receive wine as an ingredient to go with food, It's part of the culture, food and wines are mixing so well together, and I think it kind of enhances the experience. It does provide so much emotion that I think this is probably the perfect recipe and medicine to bring people back together and enjoy some absolutely delightful moments.
Naš sagovornik je imao priliku da okuša i neka od domaćih vina koja su ga oduševila. Smatra takođe da svaka zemlja treba da razvija svoju autentičnost kada je proizvodnja vina u pitanju.
For me, wines, it's all about the curiosity. You have to dive yourself into different wine regions, explore different countries. I will say that every winemaker tries to express the terroir, the style of each area, each countries, and I will say that Serbia is probably one of these places to look at it very closely in the next years, because that's going to be also something which will impact the wine world, but also the pleasure of everyone to taste some absolutely gorgeous wines.